Saving money is becoming more difficult, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible. There are 10 frugal habits that you can do every single week that are going to help you to save more money. If you don't know us, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
This is Under the Median, where every week we talk about practical frugality.
This is the fourth and final video in a series of how to save money for 2025.
We'll help you set your budget for 2025, know exactly how to evaluate your spending, and most importantly, it will help you to save more money in the new year. But before we delve into the topic at hand, do us a big favor, give us a thumbs up, give a like to this video, and thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Habit number 1, you need to write down your weekly goals. This helps strengthen what those goals are, keeps you more focused on going ahead with those goals.
We call our weekly goals our big 3 because there are 3 of them. All of these goals for your week should be micro goals. They're small goals, not great big huge goals or huge projects you're going to work on. These are small goals. Let us give you an example. Our weekly big 3 goals are based solidly on our monthly goals. One of our monthly goals a while back was to lower our utility bill, to lower our electric bill specifically. And we realized walking around the house that there were a whole lot of lights left on in rooms after people had walked out of the room. So we simply took a Post-it note and placed it underneath all the major light switches in the house for a week and said, please remember to turn off the light when you leave a room. It reminded the adults, and it also reminded all the kids to shut off the lights. Things like that are small things that you can accomplish, are important for your big 3 goals. Now, we also recommend, as we just mentioned, that you find a way to put them where you can see them. That's our pro tip for this section. Anytime that you can create a method of following up on those goals, not just writing them, but tracking them throughout the week so you can see that you are progressing in those goals and accomplishing them by the end of the week, and you are more likely to reach the goals.
Think about where you go in your house most often, like your refrigerator in the kitchen. If you put a Post-it note on there with a small list of some of your goals, that will help you to remember them and keep them in mind.
And speaking of your refrigerator, the next few goals we'll talk about are related to your food budget. Food is probably the major number 1 thing that we get questions about on this channel because I think, we do a lot of eating and a lot of shopping and a lot of planning every single week. Let's talk about one thing which helped us shave about 15% off of our food bill almost immediately when we began doing it years ago, and that is weekly menu planning. I think people underestimate how much money this is going to save them, and I think they overestimate how much time it's going to take them. It takes less than 30 minutes to plan an entire week's worth of menus. Now, the way that we do that is by specifically planning based on what's on sale at the grocery store and what we already have on hand on the shelves in our home. The other part of the weekly menu plan is that on Thursday nights, we do our refrigerator clean out night. We create something called our perishable food inventory list. This lists basically everything in the refrigerator. You got to get back in those hidden corners, make sure nothing is back there that you have sort of forgotten about. Make sure the list is prioritized so that those items that have the shortest shelf life are all the way at the top of the list. When you see it, you can immediately begin pairing those up with items you already have on your hand in your pantry or in your freezer and create meals for your family. Never once since we started doing this have we ever failed to come up with at least 3 days worth of full menu plans based on what we have already in our refrigerator. And those are even on the nights when we have opened the refrigerator door, looked at each other and said, there's no food in the house.
Speaking of no food in the house, the third one will kind of relate to that. Prepare meals in bulk. That way you do have food when you need it. It will keep you from wanting to go out to eat or maybe have some food ordered in at your convenience, and that will keep your costs way down. But along with having these prepared meals, you want to make sure that you have good containers with the lids that you can write on with an erasable marker, so you can put on those containers the content and the date that you prepared them, so you know how old they are and what you've got on hand.
Feel like you don't want to mark on your containers with marker, erasable or not, grab yourself some painter's tape. Put the painter's tape across the top of the container, right on the painter's tape. The painter's tape will peel right off when you no longer need it on that container.
Strategy number 4 is to plan shopping with your supermarket sales flyers.
People sort of misunderstand supermarket sales flyers. Sales flyers, for the most part, are designed for the supermarket to tell you what they have in stock, not necessarily what they have on sale. There are, however, a few caveats to that. Something called loss leader items. Every major grocery store is going to have a few items which are dropped below market value. Those are called loss leaders. They generally appear on the front page of the grocery store flyer. If you will plan part of your weekly menu around those items that you can get at an ultra low price that week, especially if those are perishables, then you'll be able to definitely drop your overall grocery budget. If you will fill your grocery cart specifically with items which are on sale or on markdown, once again, that will drop your overall grocery budget.
If you create a stock up price list, you can track items that they say are on sale and determine if that's really a bargain.
One of the things that you need to understand is that sales come in cycles. The sales cycles for items are generally used to be anywhere from 6 weeks to 10 or 12 weeks, and the items varied throughout when they were going to be put on sale. For instance, pasta used to always be on sale every 6 weeks. That was the cycle. It would cycle back around, and you knew you could get a great deal on pasta. Since 2020, that has spread out a little bit, so now it's maybe every 8 weeks for pasta. You need to make sure that you are stocking up enough so that you can get through from one sales cycle to the next sales cycle. And that's where buying things in multiples and putting them on your pantry shelves is going to be super helpful.
Strategy number 5 is to have your paycheck deposited in an automatic savings account. That means that it's automatically deposited. It's not going to be in your pocket where you're going to be tempted to spend the money, and it will be available to you when you need it to be saved. Another thing you can do for savings is to, while you're automatically deposited, have a certain amount automatically put into a savings account that you have a specific purpose for.
A lot of these savings accounts, we have one that we use for out-of-pocket expenses for dental and medical needs. Automatically, at the first of the month, our credit union will transfer money from our main savings account to this specific sort of subsidiary savings account. If you have a bank or a credit union where you can have multiple sub-accounts, this is super helpful in saving up for future needs.
Strategy number 6 is to create an overview of weekly activities.
This is the stuff that you know you need to get done this week, but this is also the fun part. One of the things that we have always talked about on this channel is that being frugal doesn't mean you deprive yourself of every joy in life. You need to find ways to have fun and do activities in your area without spending a lot of money. So at the beginning of every week, Google free fun activities in my area, free fun family activities in my area. You get the idea. You're going to be able to find a variety of different kinds of activities, and then fill in your calendar with some of those activities. That breaks up sort of the doldrums of the whole week and lets you know you have something to look forward to. And if it is a low-cost entrance, that's okay. Make sure that you have a separate fund in your budget every single month. We call it our fun money budget. You can call it recreation, anything you want. But that's money specifically set aside to pay for things like that, because then you have money on hand and you don't feel any sense of guilt for participating.
Use a weekly planner or an app to track these activities, and that way you'll know for sure what's going on.
The other thing we have is a family group text message, because we have grown kids who still live in the area, and we'll text them and say, hey, Dad and I are headed to this on Thursday night. Anybody want to hop on board and go with us?
Strategy number 7 is to track your daily spending. This will help you to track any areas that you might be overspending on.
Every dollar. We use Dave Ramsey's free budgeting app, every dollar. At the end of every month, we transfer those totals to a set of spreadsheets that I have created for us to track all of our financial savings goals, all of our side gig money, all of our monthly expenses. And I mention that because the spreadsheet is a part, by the way, of the Frugal Finance Planner Super PAC. So remember to make sure that your name is on the wait list for that Super PAC.
You'll want to use a cashback savings app like Fetch to help you with that money too. That'll help you save some money as you're tracking the items that you're spending.
That's our pro tip, by the way, is Fetch. We love the Fetch app. We'll make sure that there's a link for it in the description of this video. Frugal habit number 8 that we do every single week, and that is create a grocery list. Sorry, we're swinging right back to food just again for a hot second.
Hard to get away from it.
Look, if you go shopping and you are spending just whatever you need to, then you're going to spend a lot more than you ever intended to. If you go to the store just to buy anything that looks good on the shelf, you're going to spend a whole lot more money. Create a grocery list and make sure that you stick to it when you're in the grocery store. Let's just say really quickly that you're walking through the grocery store, you find a fantastic deal and you're like, dang it, I would love to stock up on a few of those. It's a fantastic deal, but it's going to wreck my grocery budget. We use something really important called the 1/5 method that helps us to never go over on our grocery budget. Every month, we divide our grocery budget into fifths. 1/5 of that monthly grocery budget is set aside for stocking up. When we find absolutely amazing deals, we know it's an amazing deal, and we're going to buy them in multiples.
Make sure that you're organizing your list to what the store and how it's laid out so that you're working the most efficiently around that store.
Statistically, the more minutes you spend in the store, the more money you spend.
Strategy number 9 is to set a weekly spending limit.
Anytime you start the week with the idea in mind, this is how much money I am going to spend this week. Guess what? That's how much money you'll spend this week, and you won't spend any more than that. We go over what are our expenses going to be this week? What does this week look like as far as needing to have cash on hand? Are we planning something special that we need to make sure that we go withdraw some money from the bank? Anytime you're spending cash, statistically, you're going to spend less money than if you are sliding not just a credit card, but even a debit card, you're going to spend more money. Yeah. We start the week with a figure, knowing this is how much money that we are intentionally spending this week. This is especially important when it comes to discretionary spending. That's buying stuff that you don't necessarily need to buy.
Strategy number 10, and this should be very apparent to most of you. I'm sure most of you already do this, but use community services that are free for the public. That would be, of course, your public library. Yes. Libraries offer so many opportunities for entertainment, for education, for enjoyment. There's reading, there's meetings at the library where different groups will congregate and go over things, very interesting presentations at the library. And of course, there's videos, all kinds of stuff. Our library even has some books on sale. They'll sell off a lot of their old books and they'll go real cheap, like 50 cents a book. So lots of good resources there. You have your park systems for hiking and for recreation there. You can always go for walks or go for bike rides. Think of the things that you can do in your community that won't cost you anything.
And here's our pro tip for this area. Make sure that you're following those community organizations on social media. Yeah. That's where they're going to post up-to-date information. You're going to find classes or other free opportunities that you can take part in. Weekly habits are only a part of the equation. You also need to have specific monthly habits and also quarterly habits and annual habits. We laid out our entire system for setting up our budget and our expenses for the upcoming new year. This, as we mentioned, is part 4 of a 4-part series. If you've missed any of the first 3 parts of this video series, I just linked the entire series right over there.